Lisa Grant stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber and tried not to show her frustration. The chamber was enormous, built to hold representatives from 47 different alien species. Some sat in chairs, others floated in gravity fields, and a few existed as clouds of gas contained in transparent spheres. All of them were staring at her like she had just tracked mud across a clean floor. "Ambassador Grant," the lead counselor said, his three eyes blinking in sequence. "We have reviewed your species' application for council membership. We have concerns." Lisa had expected this. Humanity had been in contact with the galactic community for only 2 years. They were the new kids trying to join an ancient club. "What concerns, counselor?" A reptilian delegate rose from her seat. Her scales were deep purple, and her voice hissed through a translator. "Your history, Ambassador. Your species has been at war for your entire recorded existence." "That's not entirely accurate," Lisa said carefully. "Isn't it?" Another voice spoke up. This one belonged to a being that looked like a floating jellyfish. "We examined your historical records. You have fought thousands of wars. Thousands. My people have fought 3 wars in 10,000 years. Lisa felt her jaw tighten. "Yes, we've had conflicts, but we've also built a unified world government. We've eliminated poverty and disease. We've achieved peace." "After how many millions dead?" the jellyfish being asked. A door at the side of the chamber opened, and Commander Velthar entered. He was an insectoid, nearly 8 feet tall, with 4 arms and a face that reminded Lisa of a praying mantis. He was the Council's chief military advisor, and he carried a data pad in one of his clawed hands. "The human application is unusual," Velthar said. His voice clicked and buzzed. "I have studied their military history in detail. It is disturbing." "Disturbing how?" Lisa asked. Velthar's multifaceted eyes fixed on her. "Your wars do not end properly. When my people fought the Krell Empire 600 years ago, we engaged in battle for 1 year. Casualties reached 12% on both sides. We both demonstrated our resolve, and then we negotiated. We adjusted our borders, signed a treaty, and returned to peace. This is how civilized species conduct warfare." "And?" Lisa prompted. "And your species does not do this," Velthar said. "I studied your World War II. Your enemies were defeated totally. Their governments were dissolved. Their militaries were dismantled. Their leaders were executed. Then you occupied their territory for years." He paused. "This is not warfare. This is elimination." Lisa took a deep breath. Behind her, standing silently in his dress uniform, was Commander Jake Preston. He was her military liaison, a man in his 40s, with gray in his hair and old scars on his hands. She glanced back at him, and he gave her a slight nod. "Commander Velthar," Lisa said, "those enemies you mentioned, Germany and Japan, they're now 2 of Earth's closest allies. We've been at peace with them for over a century." "Because you destroyed them," the purple reptilian said. "Because we eliminated the threat," Lisa corrected. "We didn't fight to gain territory or resources. We fought to stop them from threatening us and others. When we won, we helped them rebuild into better societies." "This is barbaric," someone muttered from the upper tiers. The lead counselor raised one of his hands. "Peace, delegates. The human approach to conflict is certainly different from our own. However, we must also consider their technological achievements, their unified government, and their potential contributions to the Council." "They are dangerous," Velthar said flatly. "Their entire military philosophy is based on total victory. They do not understand limited warfare. They do not understand negotiated settlements. In their view, enemies must be eliminated." "Not eliminated," Jake Preston spoke for the first time. His voice was quiet, but carried through the chamber. "Transformed." Every eye turned to him. He stepped forward to stand beside Lisa. "Commander Velthar is right. We don't fight wars the way you do. When we fight to end the threat permanently. But that doesn't mean we destroy everything. Germany and Japan weren't eliminated. They were transformed. The Nazis were eliminated. The Imperial Japanese military was eliminated. But the people, the nations, they were helped to rebuild. And if they had refused your help? Velthar asked. Jake met his eyes. Then we would have stayed until they accepted it. We don't leave jobs half-finished. The chamber filled with murmuring voices. Lisa could feel the unease in the room. These species had fought wars for thousands of years, but their wars were limited affairs. Fight for a while, show your strength, negotiate a settlement, go home. The idea of fighting until the enemy completely surrendered was foreign to them, frightening to them. The lead counselor consulted with several other delegates in whispers. Finally, he turned back to Lisa. Ambassador Grant, the Council will accept humanity as a provisional member. However, given your species' aggressive history, we will assign you to the lowest military contribution tier. You will observe our conflicts but not participate in command decisions. You will learn how civilized warfare is conducted. Lisa wanted to argue, but Jake touched her arm gently. She bit back her response and nodded. We accept the Council's terms. Good, the counselor said. Welcome to the Galactic Council, humanity. We hope you will learn much from us. As they left the chamber, Jake walked beside Lisa in silence. Only when they were alone in the corridor did he speak. They think we're savages, Lisa said bitterly. They do, Jake agreed. They also have no idea what they just invited into their galaxy. What do you mean? Jake stopped walking and looked at her. They fight wars to maintain balance. We fight wars to create peace. Sooner or later, they're going to learn the difference. Lisa thought about that. Should I be worried? Jake smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Not unless someone starts a war while we're around. Then everyone should be worried. They continued down the corridor, 2 humans among thousands of aliens, unaware that in 3 months, everything would change. 3 months passed quickly. Lisa found herself attending endless council meetings, learning the complex politics of galactic civilization. Jake spent his time with Admiral Kate Morrison, who commanded the small human fleet stationed at the Council's military headquarters. Kate was a woman in her 50s, with iron-gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen too much combat. She had fought in Earth's corporate wars back when megacorporations tried to replace governments. The emergency call came on a Tuesday morning, Earth time. All delegates to the council chamber immediately, the announcement echoed through the station. Emergency session? Military crisis? Lisa rushed to the chamber with Jake beside her. When they arrived, the room was already full and buzzing with anxious voices. The lead counselor stood at the center, his 3 eyes wide with what might have been fear. Delegates, the Krell Dominion has declared war on the Council. They are demanding we surrender 5 outer colonies, including New Horizon. Lisa knew about the Krell. They were a reptilian species, aggressive and militaristic. They controlled a large empire on the galactic rim. But she was confused by the reaction in the room. Everyone seemed worried but not panicked. How many times has this happened before? Jake whispered to her. A nearby delegate, a floating jellyfish being, turned to them. The Krell? This is their 5th war with us in the last 800 years. They make demands, we fight, we negotiate, borders adjust slightly, everyone goes home. 5th war? Lisa repeated. With the same enemy? Of course. That's how these things work. The Council military staff began presenting their defense plan. Commander Velthar stood at the holographic display, showing fleet positions and battle strategies. Lisa listened with growing disbelief. We will engage the Krell fleet in the Outer Rim sector, Velthar explained. Standard warfare protocols apply. Battles will occur between the hours of 800 and 1800 local time. No combat during rest periods. Weapons are restricted to energy cannons and conventional missiles. No biological weapons, no planet-destroying weapons, no civilian targeting. Estimated casualties? Someone asked. Acceptable range, 8 to 15% on both sides. We anticipate 6 to 8 months of conflict before both sides are ready to negotiate. Kate Morrison stood up. Lisa hadn't even noticed her in the chamber. Excuse me, Commander, did you say battles only happen during specific hours? Velthar turned to her. Yes, Admiral Morrison. From 0800 to 1800. Fighting during rest periods is uncivilized. And the Krell follow these rules? Of course. All civilized species do. Kate looked at Jake, then at Lisa. Her expression said everything. This was insane. Admiral Morrison, the lead counselor said, humanity will contribute 3 ships to the defense fleet. You will take orders from Commander Velthar. This will be an excellent opportunity for your species to learn proper military protocol. Kate's jaw tightened, but she nodded. Understood, Counselor. 2 weeks later, Lisa stood in the command center of the human flagship, the USS Liberty. Kate had invited her to observe as the human fleet took up position near New Horizon Colony. The colony was home to 50,000 beings, including 500 humans who had settled there as part of the cultural exchange program. This is ridiculous, Kate said, staring at the tactical display. The Krell fleet is right there, 27 ships. We could hit them now while they're in formation. The battle window doesn't open for another 3 hours, Jake reminded her. He had come aboard as the human liaison to Velthar's command staff. Battle window, Kate repeated, shaking her head. I've fought in 3 wars, Jake. Not once did we have a battle window. The Krell fleet appeared on schedule at precisely 0800 hours. The Council fleet moved to engage them. Lisa watched as the 2 forces approached each other at leisurely speeds, getting into proper formation. It looked more like a dance than a battle. All ships, engage at will. Velthar's voice came through the communications channel. Remember, weapons protocols are in effect. No targeting of command ships unless they fire first. They're protecting command ships? Kate muttered. That's where you aim first. The battle began. Energy beams flashed between the ships. Missiles launched in careful arcs. Ships maneuvered gracefully, taking turns firing. It was almost polite. When a ship was heavily damaged, it withdrew from the battle line, and no one pursued it. At 1800 hours, both fleets stopped firing and withdrew to safe distances. What just happened? Lisa asked. Rest period, Jake explained. He looked disgusted. Both sides go back to their corners until tomorrow morning. This pattern continued for 3 weeks. Battles from 800 to 1800, rest periods at night, casualties mounted slowly on both sides. The Council lost 4 ships. The Krell lost 5. It was all very organized and civilized. Then the Krell broke the rules. A transport ship was evacuating civilians from New Horizon, carrying them to safety deeper in Council space. It was clearly marked as a civilian vessel. It was traveling during a rest period. According to every rule of galactic warfare, it was completely safe. The Krell destroyer appeared out of nowhere and fired. The transport exploded in seconds. 3,000 lives gone instantly. 200 of them were human. Lisa heard the news in her quarters. She ran to the command center where Kate stood frozen, staring at the casualty reports. 200 humans, Kate said softly. 200 of our people. Jake burst through the door moments later. His face was pale. I just came from Velthar's command ship. They're calling it an unfortunate accident. The Krell commander claims it was a targeting error. And what did Velthar say? Kate asked, her voice dangerous. He's accepted the apology. He says these things happen in war. They're increasing the timeline for negotiations. The Krell will probably offer slight additional concessions at the peace talks. Peace talks, Kate repeated. She turned to look at Jake, then at Lisa. They killed 3,000 civilians, including our people, and the response is peace talks? That's how they do things here, Jake said. Kate walked to the communications console. Her hands moved swiftly across the controls. Get me Earth. Priority Alpha. Presidential Authorization Code. Lisa felt her stomach drop. Kate, what are you doing? My job, Kate said. Jake, contact Ben Carter and his Marines. Tell them to prepare for actual combat operations. The Council will never approve that, Lisa warned. I'm not asking for their approval, Kate said. The communication link opened. This is Admiral Kate Morrison to Earth Command. I am invoking Article 7 of our Council Treaty. Humanity is withdrawing from Council Military Command to exercise our sovereign right to self-defense. Lisa closed her eyes. Article 7. The clause they had insisted on during treaty negotiations. The right to act independently if human lives were threatened. Kate, she said slowly, if you do this, you'll be starting an entirely different kind of war. Kate turned to face her. No, Ambassador. I'm going to finish one. The way humans finish wars. The Council won't understand. Then they're about to learn. The Krell fleet commander was named Scar, and he was feeling satisfied. The battle had gone well. 3 weeks of proper warfare, acceptable casualties on both sides, and now the Council was signaling readiness to negotiate. In another month, maybe 2, the Krell would gain the 5 colonies they wanted. Perhaps they would offer to return one in exchange for mining rights elsewhere. This was how wars were won. It was 0200 hours, deep in the rest period. Scar was in his private quarters, reviewing the proposed negotiation terms. His ships were in standard formation, weapons powered down to maintenance levels. The crew was at minimal staffing. This was how every fleet spent their rest periods. The first indication something was wrong was when his communication systems went dark. Then the lights went out. Then his entire ship shuddered as something struck it. Scar rushed to the command deck in the darkness. Emergency lights flickered on, casting red shadows. His crew was scrambling to their stations, confused and disoriented. "Report!" he shouted. "Sir, we're under attack. Multiple ships, small and fast. They came out of nowhere." "During rest period?" Scar couldn't believe it. "That's against protocols. Who would dare?" His tactical officer looked up from his console, his face confused. "Sir, the signatures are human ships." "Impossible. The humans only have 3 ships." "Sir, I'm reading 15 human vessels. They're hitting us from all sides. Our shields were down. They've damaged our main engines." Across the Krell fleet, the same scene was repeating. Human ships darted through the formations like wolves among sheep. They weren't fighting like council ships, trading shots at respectful distances. They were attacking at close range, targeting critical systems with surgical precision. The USS Liberty, along with 2 other destroyers from Earth, led the assault. But they had been joined by 12 other human ships that had been hiding in the asteroid field for the past week, waiting for Kate's signal. "Target their propulsion first," Kate ordered from her command chair. "I want them unable to run. Then hit communications. Blind them." "Admiral, the Krell are trying to hail us," her communications officer reported. "Ignore them. They're demanding we honor rest period protocols." "Tell them this is how humans fight," Kate said coldly. "No protocols, no rules, no rest." Commander Ben Carter was leading the Marine assault on the Krell flagship. His team of 50 Marines had launched from the Liberty in stealth pods, approaching under radio silence. They wore black armor with full helmets and night vision equipment. The Krell didn't fight in darkness. None of the galactic species did. Battles happened during set hours in well-lit spaces with clear rules of engagement. The concept of attacking in total darkness was alien to them. Ben's team breached the Krell flagship's hull using shaped charges. They poured into the ship's corridors. The Krell crew, used to formal combat with clear battle lines, had no idea how to respond to enemies who moved like ghosts in the dark, striking from unexpected angles. "Bridge secured," Ben reported 20 minutes later. "We have their commander." "Good," Kate responded. "Hold position." Back in space, the human fleet had systematically dismantled the Krell formation. Without engines, without communications, the Krell ships drifted helplessly. A few tried to fight back, but human ships moved too fast, struck too hard, and ignored every rule the Krell understood. 72 hours after the attack began, the Krell fleet was destroyed. Not damaged, not forced to withdraw. Destroyed. 27 Krell ships were either captured, crippled, or reduced to debris. Human casualties, 0. The Council response was immediate and panicked. Lisa stood before the emergency council session, knowing this would be the most important moment of her career. The chamber was in chaos. Delegates were shouting, demanding explanations, calling for humanity's expulsion. "Order!" the lead counselor shouted. "Ambassador Grant, explain your species' actions." "We defended ourselves," Lisa said simply. "You attacked during rest period." Velthar stood, his forearms gesturing wildly. "You ignored weapons protocols. You boarded their ships and captured their commander. This is not warfare, this is butchery." "The Krell killed 3,000 civilians," Lisa said, her voice hard, "including 200 humans. You called it an unfortunate accident and continued planning your negotiations." "Accidents happen in war," the purple reptilian delegate said. "That's why we negotiate settlements, to prevent escalation." "You don't prevent escalation," Jake Preston spoke up from beside Lisa. "You ensure it happens again. The Krell have fought you 5 times in 800 years. Every time you fight for a while, negotiate, adjust borders, and go home. Then 20 years later, or 50 years later, or 100 years later, they come back and do it again." "That is the nature of galactic politics," Velthar said. "No," Jake said. "That's the nature of failing to finish what you start." "What gives you the right to decide how wars should be fought?" someone shouted from the upper tiers. Kate Morrison's voice came through the chamber's communication system. "Permission to address the council?" The lead counselor hesitated, then nodded. Kate's image appeared on the main display. She was still on the bridge of the Liberty. "You asked what gives us the right," Kate said. "Nothing gives us the right. We're not asking for your approval. We're informing you of our intentions." "You destroyed their fleet," Velthar said. "Surely you're satisfied now. You've proven your point?" "No," Kate said. "We're not satisfied. We're not done." The chamber fell silent. "What do you mean?" the lead counselor asked carefully. "The Krell are suing for peace," Kate said. "They've offered to withdraw their territorial claims, pay reparations, and return to their space. You probably think that's enough. That's how your wars end." "And it's not enough for humans?" the lead counselor asked. "Not even close," Kate said. "We're not fighting for territorial adjustments. We're not fighting to send a message. We're fighting to ensure the Krell never threaten anyone ever again." "What does that mean?" Velthar demanded. Kate's expression was cold. "It means my fleet is currently en route to Krell space. We're going to their home system. We're going to dismantle their military completely. We're going to occupy their military worlds, and we're going to stay there until we're certain they'll never start another war." The chamber erupted in shouts. Lisa could barely hear herself think over the noise. "You can't invade their home system," someone screamed. "No one has done that in 10,000 years, another voice added. "That's barbaric." "That's human," Jake said quietly. But somehow his voice cut through the noise. Everyone turned to look at him. "You keep saying we're barbaric. You're right. We are. We're the species that fought 2 world wars that killed millions. We're the species that built weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We're the species that nearly wiped ourselves out 6 times." He paused, looking around the chamber. "And we're the species that learned from it. We learned that half measures don't work." That limited wars just lead to more wars. That if you want peace, real peace, you have to make it impossible for your enemies to threaten you again. And then what? Velthar asked. You destroy them? Eliminate their entire civilization? No, Lisa said. We help them rebuild. Once we've eliminated their ability to make war, we help them become something better. It's what we did on Earth. It's what we'll do for the Krell. If they resist? The lead counselor asked. Jake smiled grimly. Then we'll stay until they stop resisting. Like we said, we don't leave jobs half-finished. The council adjourned in chaos, but the human fleet continued toward Krell's space, and nothing the council said or did would stop them. The human fleet arrived at the Krell home system 6 days later. Admiral Kate Morrison stood on the bridge of the Liberty, studying the tactical display. The Krell home world was protected by 3 orbital defense platforms and 12 military stations. Under normal circumstances, it would take months to capture such a heavily defended system. Kate gave the order. The assault began. It was over in 18 hours. The human ships didn't follow standard attack patterns. They didn't line up and trade fire with the defense platforms. They used electronic warfare to blind sensors, launched swarms of small drones to overwhelm point defense systems, and struck with precision at critical infrastructure. When the defense platforms finally cleared their sensors and prepared to fire, the human ships were already past them, heading for the military stations. Ben Carter's Marines captured the main military command center on Krell Prime. The Krell generals surrendered without firing a shot. They had watched their fleet destroyed, their defenses bypassed, and their orbital stations disabled in less than a day. They understood they were facing something completely outside their experience. On the council station, Lisa found herself in the most difficult negotiation of her life. The council wanted humans gone. They wanted the Krell War ended immediately. They wanted everything to go back to normal. Your species has violated every principle of civilized warfare, the lead counselor said. He looked tired. His 3 eyes had lost their usual brightness. You have invaded a sovereign system. You are occupying their military facilities. This is unprecedented. It's necessary, Lisa replied. Commander Velthar had been studying human history for the past week. He had barely slept, spending every moment reviewing Earth's historical records. Now he stood before the military committee, presenting his findings. I believe I understand what humans are doing, he said. His voice was uncertain, lacking its usual confidence. I studied their World War II in detail. After they defeated Germany and Japan, they didn't simply withdraw. They occupied both nations for years. They put the enemy leaders on trial. They reformed the governments completely. Yes, we know this, a committee member said impatiently. It's barbaric. Perhaps, Velthar continued. But here is what I found interesting. Before World War II, Germany had fought 3 major wars in 70 years. After their defeat by humans and their allies, Germany never fought another war. Japan had been militarily aggressive for centuries. After their defeat, they became peaceful. The committee members shifted uncomfortably. I researched further, Velthar said. The Krell have fought 5 wars with us in 800 years. The Tharkon Empire has fought us 7 times. The Vrax Confederation has fought us 12 times. We fight them, we negotiate peace, they rebuild their military, and 20 years later, or 100 years later, they fight us again. That is simply how galactic politics work, someone said. Is it? Velthar challenged. Or is it how we've made it work? We fight limited wars with limited objectives. We negotiate settlements that leave everyone's military intact. We ensure that every conflict can happen again because we never actually resolve anything. He pulled up a comparison chart. Humanity had hundreds of wars in their first 5,000 years. In the last 200 years, they've had only 3 major conflicts. Each time, they ended the war completely. They dismantled their enemies' military capabilities. They helped rebuild those nations, and those former enemies became lasting allies. You're suggesting we adopt human methods? The lead counselor looked horrified. I'm suggesting their methods work, Velthar said. They don't fight more wars. They fight fewer wars, because when they fight, they make sure that particular enemy never threatens them again. Back on Krell Prime, Kate Morrison was meeting with the Krell High Command. They sat across a metal table in what had been their main war room. It was now under human control. You killed thousands of our warriors, the Krell commander said. His scales were a dull gray, a sign of shame in Krell culture. And you killed 3,000 civilians, Kate responded. 200 of them were my people. It was an accident. It was careless. It was reckless. And it was the last mistake your military will ever make. You plan to execute us? No, Kate said, and saw the surprise on their faces. We're going to dismantle your military. All your warships will be scrapped. Your military stations will be converted to civilian use. Your weapons factories will be retooled for peaceful production. You would leave us defenseless? You'll have a defense force, enough to protect your borders from pirates and raiders, not enough to threaten your neighbors. For how long? 50 years, Kate said. Minimum. We'll have occupation forces here to ensure compliance. We'll help you rebuild your economy around peaceful industries. We'll assist in reforming your government to be less militaristic. The Krell commander's tail lashed in anger. And if we refuse? Kate's expression didn't change. Then we stay longer, and we go deeper. We've studied your culture. We know how your military controls your government. We can change that. It will be harder for everyone if you resist, but we'll do it anyway. You would destroy our civilization. No, Kate said firmly. We'd save it. Your civilization has been at war for 800 years. Your economy is built around military production. Your government is run by generals. Your young people are raised to be warriors. That's not a civilization. That's a machine built for war. It's our way. It was Japan's way too, Kate said. It was Germany's way. It was North Korea's way back on Earth. We helped all of them find better ways. Some accepted our help quickly. Others took longer. But they all eventually became peaceful, prosperous societies. You're so certain of this? Yes, Kate said. Because we've done it before, many times. We know how to turn warriors into citizens. Lisa was called before the full council assembly. Every delegate was present. The tension in the chamber was thick enough to cut. Ambassador Grant, the lead counselor said, the council demands that humanity withdraw from Krell space immediately. No, Lisa said simply. The chamber erupted. Lisa waited for the noise to die down. You don't get to demand anything, she continued. You invited us to join your council. You asked us to contribute to galactic defense. We're doing exactly that. We're defending the galaxy from a species that has attacked you 5 times in 800 years. By invading them. By ensuring they can't attack anyone ever again, Lisa corrected. Tell me something, counselor. When will the Krell attack you again? In 50 years, 100 years, 200 years? That's not the point. It's exactly the point, Jake Preston said, stepping forward. You've been managing conflicts for thousands of years. Managing them, not solving them. The same enemies fight you again and again because you never actually defeat them. So your solution is to destroy them? The purple reptilian delegate asked. Our solution is to change them, Jake said. Germany and Japan weren't destroyed. They were transformed. They're now among the most peaceful nations on Earth. They're our closest allies. The very people who tried to conquer us are now our partners. And you think you can do this with the Krell? Yes, Lisa said confidently. In 50 years, the Krell won't be your enemy. They'll be your friends. They'll trade with you. They'll share technology with you. They'll contribute to galactic peace instead of threatening it. You can't guarantee that, Velthar said, but his voice was uncertain. No, Lisa admitted, but we can guarantee this. If we do nothing, if we follow your methods, the Krell will attack again. Maybe not in our lifetimes, but eventually. And more people will die. More civilians will be killed in accidents. More resources will be wasted on endless cycles of limited war and negotiated peace. She looked around the chamber. Or you can let us finish what we started. Let us show you that there's another way, a way that leads to real peace, not just managed conflict. The vote was held that evening. By a narrow margin, the Council agreed to allow humanity to continue its occupation of Krell military facilities. They imposed conditions and oversight, but they agreed. As Lisa walked back to her quarters, Jake beside her, she felt exhausted but hopeful. "Think it'll work?" she asked. "It'll work," Jake said. "It always does. The hard part is getting people to let us try." Above them, in orbit around Krell Prime, human ships stood guard. Marines walked the corridors of military stations. Engineers began the work of dismantling weapons and converting facilities for peaceful use. It was work humans had done before, on their own world. Now they would do it for others. The galaxy was about to learn that humans didn't fight wars to win territory or gain advantages. They fought wars to end them permanently. 20 years passed. Lisa Grant was older now, her hair gray, her face lined with the weight of 2 decades of difficult decisions. She stood in the same council chamber where she had first defended humanity's application for membership. But everything had changed. Commander Velthar stood beside her. He was older, too, some of his chitin dulled with age. Over the years, he had become one of humanity's strongest advocates. "It's remarkable," Velthar said, looking at the display showing current galactic conflicts. "When you arrived, we averaged 15 wars per decade. Now we've had only 2 in 20 years. And both ended quickly," Lisa noted. "Because everyone knows what happens if they don't," Velthar said. There was something in his voice. Not quite approval, but acceptance. The Tharkon Empire was preparing to invade Council space 5 years ago. They had assembled a fleet, made their demands. "Do you know what stopped them?" "Tell me," Lisa said, though she knew the answer. Admiral Kate Morrison sent them a message, 3 words. "Remember the Krell." The Tharkon fleet dispersed within hours. Kate Morrison had retired 3 years ago. She lived quietly on Earth now, writing her memoirs and teaching at the military academy, but her reputation remained. The Admiral who ended wars, they called her. Some species said it with respect, others said it with fear. The Krell system had been transformed. The military stations were now trade hubs. The weapons factories produced consumer goods and medical equipment. The orbital platforms that once bristled with weapons now served as docking facilities for merchant ships. Ben Carter had stayed on Krell Prime for 15 years, overseeing the occupation. He had finally come home last year, his hair white, his face weathered. He told Lisa that the hardest part wasn't the military occupation. It was teaching the Krell to think differently. They were raised to be warriors, he had said. 3 generations of Krell knew nothing but military service. We had to show them there were other ways to live. The Krell delegate entered the council chamber. His name was Karth, and he was young for a diplomat. His scales were bright green, a sign of health and optimism in Krell culture. 20 years ago, no Krell would have shown such openness. "Ambassador Grant," Karth said, approaching her. "I wanted to thank you personally before today's vote." "Thank me?" Lisa was surprised. "My grandfather was a general in the fleet that attacked your people. He was captured during the human assault. He spent 10 years in your re-education programs." Karth's eyes were sincere. "He tells me he was angry at first, humiliated. But slowly he began to understand. The humans showed him what our constant warfare had done to our people, the poverty, the suffering, the endless cycle of violence. And now? Lisa asked. Now he runs a school. He teaches young Krell about peaceful conflict resolution. He says the humans gave him something he never knew he was missing. What's that? A future that wasn't built on fighting. The council session began. The topic was urgent. A new species had been discovered on the galactic rim. They were called the Zathri, and they were aggressive and warlike. They had attacked 3 council survey ships. "We should respond with military force," one delegate suggested. "Show them we won't tolerate aggression." "Limited engagement," another added. "The usual protocols." Velthar stood. "Or we could try the human approach." The chamber fell silent. 20 years ago, that suggestion would have been met with outrage. Now, delegates simply waited to hear more. "The Zathri are acting from a position of fear," Velthar explained. "They see us as threats. If we respond with traditional military action, we'll fight them for decades or centuries, cycling through wars and peace negotiations. Or we can do what humans would do." "Invade their space?" someone asked nervously. "If necessary," Velthar said, "but first we should send them a clear message. We should show them the choice. Cooperate with the Council and prosper, or resist and face the consequences. Complete consequences. Human consequences." "You want to threaten them with human military action?" the lead counselor asked. "I want to give them the same choice the Krell had," Velthar said. "Transform or be transformed." Lisa felt a strange mix of emotions. This was what they had wanted, wasn't it? For the galaxy to adopt more permanent solutions to conflicts. But hearing it spoken so casually was unsettling. The vote was held. The Council agreed to send a diplomatic mission to the Zathri, backed by a human fleet. The message would be simple: join the galactic community peacefully, or face the kind of war that ends all wars. After the session, Lisa walked through the station's observation deck. Earth was visible in the distance, a blue sphere against the black. Jake Preston found her there. "Having second thoughts?" he asked. "Maybe," Lisa admitted. "We came here to show them a better way, but sometimes I wonder if we just made them more like us." "Is that a bad thing?" "I don't know," Lisa said. "We've created peace, that's true, but it's peace built on fear. Everyone knows what happens if they start a war. They know humans will come, and they know it won't be a limited conflict with negotiated settlements. It'll be total, complete, and permanent." Jake was quiet for a moment. "You remember Earth before unification? The endless conflicts? The proxy wars? The cycles of violence?" "Of course." "And you remember how it ended? Not with negotiations or treaties or managed conflicts. It ended when the last major power tried to use nuclear weapons and the rest of the world unified against them. We occupied them, we dismantled their government, and we rebuilt them into something better." "I remember," Lisa said. "That's when Earth finally had peace," Jake continued. "Not when we learned to negotiate better, not when we set up rules for limited warfare, when we finally committed to ending threats permanently." "And you think that justifies what we've done here?" "I think it works," Jake said. "The galaxy has had more peace in the last 20 years than in the last 1,000. The Krell aren't planning revenge. They're building schools and hospitals. Their economy is growing. Their people are happier. That's not fear. That's transformation." Lisa wanted to argue, but she couldn't. The numbers didn't lie. Galactic conflicts had dropped dramatically. Trade had increased. Cooperation between species was at an all-time high. And it was all because everyone knew the alternative. The Zathri situation resolved itself 3 months later. The human fleet arrived at their system, but they didn't have to fire a shot. The Zathri leaders met with Lisa and agreed to join the council peacefully. They had studied what happened to the Krell. They chose transformation over resistance. 5 years after that, Lisa attended the ceremony where the last human occupation forces left Krell Prime. 50 years of occupation, as promised. The Krell government was stable, peaceful, and prosperous. Their military was small and defensive. Their economy was booming. Former Krell warriors were now teachers, doctors, engineers, and artists. Karth, the Krell delegate, gave a speech at the ceremony. 50 years ago, humanity invaded our world. We thought they came to destroy us. Instead, they saved us. They showed us that strength doesn't come from conquest, but from building. That honor doesn't come from warfare, but from peace. We are forever grateful. Lisa cried during that speech. She couldn't help it. That evening, she met with Velthar one last time before her retirement. They sat in his office, sharing a drink that tasted like honey and burned like whiskey. "You humans changed everything," Velthar said. "When you arrived, I thought you were barbarians, violent, aggressive, dangerous. And now? Now I understand. You're not more violent than us. You're just more committed to ending violence. We fought wars to maintain balance. You fight wars to create peace." "Through force," Lisa said. "Through permanent solutions," Velthar corrected. "Yes, the galaxy fears human military power, but they also trust it. They know that if a species threatens peace, humans will end that threat, not manage it, not negotiate with it, end it." "And you think that's a good thing?" Velthar's multifaceted eyes studied her. "I think it's the only thing that works. For 10,000 years, we fought limited wars, the same enemies again and again. In 25 years of human influence, we've created lasting peace." Lisa finished her drink. "I just hope we're right." "We are," Velthar said confidently. "Because for the first time in galactic history, aggressive species know they can't win. They can't fight a limited war, gain some advantage, and try again later. If they fight, they lose everything. So they choose not to fight." Lisa left the council chamber for the last time the next day. As her ship departed for Earth, she looked back at the massive station. Somewhere in there, delegates from dozens of species were working together. The Krell sat beside species they had once fought. The Tharkon worked with those they had tried to conquer. Humanity hadn't made the galaxy more violent. They had made it more peaceful, not through diplomacy or negotiation or rules of engagement, through the simple understanding that wars could end permanently and enemies could become allies. It was the human way, and now it was the galactic way.